I'd like to call the Village of North Fond du Lac Board of Trustees meeting to order Monday, April 20th. Due to the state of emergency related to COVID-19, the village will have limited seating at the board meeting. In addition to the board meeting being available on cable channel 980, you are also able to dial in and listen or speak through the telephone. If you would like to call in, please dial 920-322-6120 between 5:45 and 5:55 on the day of the meeting.
I will note, there is nobody on the line right now, just so
Okay.
the board's aware. If we do need to call Darren Pouch later on with his item,
Oh, okay.
he's available.
Okay. Thank you. Audience members are requested to sign in the sheet provided at the registration table. Citizens wishing to be heard on topics not listed on the agenda may speak under item C. Citizens may be given an opportunity to speak under discussion of items listed on the agenda and are allowed 3 minutes for comments. Disruptive discussion or profanity will not be allowed. Roll call of officers.
Morning.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Streeter.
Here.
Stutz.
Here.
Will.
Here.
Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizen participation. Citizens are to address the board only. Statements are limited to 3 minutes. The board may not respond to any items not listed on the agenda. However, you may ask for an item to be placed on future agendas. Any citizens wishing to be heard? No. All right, moving on to announcements. Any announcements?
I have an announcement.
Yes.
I would like to congratulate John and Mike on their position on the village board. I want to thank the board and Administrator Leonard. I think the board this village is heading in the right way. So I just want to let you know that I appreciated the last 2 years that I was out here on the board, and I wish you all the continued best of luck.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
All right. Any other announcements? All right, moving down to President's business and staff reports. Yeah, I have one item for President's business. I wanted to thank Randy also for serving the last couple of years. I mean, it's difficult to get anybody to get involved with anything nowadays, and at any level of government. So I appreciate you stepping up and taking on the challenge. And also want to congratulate Mike and John. Welcome John back to the board next meeting. And anybody else have anything else?
Thank you.
All right. All right. Anything from the library, Nick?
No, I probably get into some of that a little bit when I get into the COVID
Okay.
update.
Okay. Administrator, Nick?
Yes, and like I said, if there's more, if the board wants us for me to elaborate on other weekly reports, but as for right now, I think we'll just go with the written weekly report, being that we're not asking the department heads to be here unless they're needed. Monday, we finished up the election last Monday, the 13th. As you're aware, it was extended, so we entered the absentee ballots Monday afternoon. I shouldn't say I wasn't there entering those. I was asserted for the Board of Canvass at the end. We had a total of 1,165 voters. 327 of those were in person. So we had, just under 800 people vote absentee, over 800 people vote absentee. Before the meeting, I was talking a little bit. I think we had 888 absentee ballots go out, and we received back all but about 40 or 45 of those. So we had really good return rates here in the village. There was a recount we found out on Wednesday for County Board Supervisor District number 16. That was taking place today. I have not heard any results yet. I mentioned I had a conference call last week with Darren Parsons in regards to the radium exceedance issue. So the way that works is the radium is based on a 4-quarter average. So our previous 4 quarters exceeded the limit of 5. So we had to notify, and the notification process works that you have to notify then, once you start the notification process, which we sent it out in the water bills, you have to then re-notify customers every quarter, as long as the exceedance is still there. Well, our exceedance for our most recent test, which would have been the first quarter of 2020, that result came back at like 3.1, which is well below the 5. However, averaging the 4 is still slightly over the 5. So part of that call was talking to them about if we still need to notify, and it sounds like we will have to, which those will go out next week, the utility bills. But it was also just a part of the process from the DNR, when you have an exceedance of those limits, they have to set up that call. We told them what we're doing, what we did to adjust it, how it's been, how the water has been responding, and they were very pleased with everything, and we don't see any more action coming from the DNR. However, we still may have to notify this next time, but if things keep going as planned and how they have been going with our water system, we will likely drop back below that threshold next quarter, which would be great. So right now, currently, we are producing water that is below the limit. Again, continue to navigate, explore all the changes. It seems like every day there's new laws or legislative action related to COVID-19, both nationally and in the state. I haven't had the time to go through all of the changes yet, but there are a few changes I'll probably highlight later too that will affect us. And when I mentioned that there's a number of bills that will affect the village, that was more about the legislative bills, not the money bills. So our staff, I just wanted to make a comment too. Our staff and our residents especially, I wanted to point out the residents have been doing a fabulous job with adapting to what we're doing here. There's a lot of people that it's not easy for some people to make payments online or even get out of the house to do some things, and they've been required to do some of that stuff now with what's going on. And to date, I don't think we've had anybody upset with us of our new operations. I mean, the intercom in the front door has been very useful for people that have questions. They can come in and press the button, they can talk to somebody. Our phones have been busier, our mail has been busier, been a lot more payments in the mail. The Dropbox has been utilized, a lot. So we actually check the Dropbox probably 3 or 4 times a day when we're here. Not because it's full, but just to kind of keep up on things and if people are in need of things. But even building inspection, getting building permits, we've had to change the way that people do that through the mail, through email, through phone messaging. And I just wanted to point out that the residents, along with the staff here, have been doing a great job of that. So I just wanted to note that. I rambled on here. I don't think I have anything else I wanted to point out. One thing I did want to mention, and a part of Darren's weekly report was if you notice, they've been digging the sidewalk over at Village Park. That's that Bourne Learning Trail path that we had approved last year. The signs are purchased. That's it. They are done. And remember, that was all done by donations from various community organizations. However, we are doing the concrete work that was in our capital budget. So they're working on that. That should, over the next few weeks, should be getting taken care of. Other than that, the grass is starting to grow, so it's going to start being a summertime for them. But I think I'll stop there.
Nick, has Lori mentioned anything like regarding Scott Miller and North Fondy Fest? I know Scott is the new president, and I haven't seen any emails.
I don't know if I'm
Go
not at liberty to announce anything at this point. I don't know if Mike is.
Mike?
I'm not at liberty. We have discussions, and I'm waiting for the president to put something out. So
Okay.
we had discussions. and
Okay.
It's up to the president when he decides to put something out.
Okay, maybe I'll just contact him. I wasn't in on that. I was usually in on the CC, but maybe, really? I don't have a new one, but I'll check again. I'll contact Scott and just see if there's anything coming up, any meetings, if they're gonna, do you know if they talk about doing like a Zoom or anything like that, or a Zoom meeting with everybody like online or something, or maybe you could do something like that. Cool. All right, thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Nick, did you have anything from any other departments that you want to mention?
No, I think that's good.
Okay. All right, moving down to the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the following village board meeting from April 6th, 2020, and approve invoices and authorized checks to be drawn on the respective funds as indicated. General fund, $29,173.17. Library fund, $790.24. EMS fund, $1,908.86. Capital projects, $17,090.50. Water department, $16,611.74. Wastewater department, $4,960.16. Stormwater fund, $13,909.40, for a grand total of $84,444.07. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Will, second by Stats to approve the consent agenda as read. Are there any questions? Randy?
On page 7, under 502 repair for $546.28, Do you know what that may have been, Nick?
What's the vendor name? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Oh, JTL?
JTL.
I don't know off the top of my head on that one.
Okay.
I don't. I can ask.
I just
JTL.
was curious if they've had any issues, any major issues?
If
If
they
it's
did
just
for a
maybe
number.
just preventive maintenance or something?
Yeah, I don't know what this one is. I mean, a month ago or 2 months ago, they were having repeating issues with some electrical stuff that they
Okay.
had some sensors replaced and wheel bearings. This one, I am not aware of what that was exactly at this point. I can find out.
All right, thank you.
Mike?
Page one, that Ian Gross, that water heater, just kind of curious what building is this building?
This building, the water heater failed. I think I might have reported that. Maybe I didn't. It was about probably the third or fourth day that we were closed to the public, right away, you know, the week that we started being closed because of COVID-19. Our water heater failed. It sprung a leak. The leak basically took out the electrical board on it, and we needed to replace it ASAP, as you
Good.
can imagine, because we were all supposed to be washing our hands at that time, so.
I know they're very, very expensive. My
Yeah.
question I have to use, do we have another one like for, do we have two of them or do we just have the one?
Just one.
Just the one?
Yep.
Okay.
We have boilers and then water heater.
I'm just saying,
Yep.
sometimes we have two, sometimes they have like two smaller ones that if
No,
one
this
goes
this
down-
building is just one.
If one goes down, you have some backup.
We do not.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I mean, that's something I could run by Darren. I don't know, this plumbing in this building is not
Okay, thank you.
great.
Does anybody have any other item question? Alrighty. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Administrative, number one, discussion and update on COVID-19 and village operations. Nick?
Yeah, and there's not a lot to update from what we've talked about in the past. The building is still the same. I guess the only update we're all aware of is that it got extended in the state till May 25th. With that, we're continuing to plan on keeping the park equipment and facilities closed. There is some language in the newer order from the state that allows municipalities to close parks and open spaces, which we don't foresee it being a problem here. It hasn't been a problem. However, the equipment has been an issue. So if we have to get to the point of taking down basketball hoops or something, we may do that. We're also talking about an ordinance tonight too. The library in the new order is allowed to kind of be open, but only for curbside and things like that. So the library is looking into those, digging through those details. Some of the other legislation that is passed is in regards to property taxes, that the property taxes that are due, the second installments, normally in August, I believe, are extended through October 1st without any penalty. We have to wait for the county to pass an ordinance, and then we can follow suit, resolution ordinance, after they pass theirs. The county has to do it first. That's the way it was written. I just want to look if any other notes on that. There's not really a lot of updates, as I mentioned. I know I had another spot here. I had notes. Property tax, the parks, the library, I kind of covered all those. Other than that, I think over the next 2 to, obviously 4 weeks, but probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll start looking at our staff and maybe getting back to a little bit more normal working here if the state allows it. And right now, that the order basically says that you're supposed to have people working from home that are available to work from home or can do their work from home. We have about 10 employees, I think, around 10 employees, I shouldn't say I think, around 10 employees that are working from home intermittently. Nobody's working from home exclusively. So it's been going well. They've been very responsive with being able to access their computers from home. They're expected to be available by phone if we need them or emails, and they've been doing a great job of that and getting all their work done. And if they can't, they need to come in to get some of it done. So a lot of even the payroll process and the checks, cutting the checks, I mean, a lot of that's being done remotely right now, except for actually the printing of them. So it's going well. Haven't had any really major hiccups. However, today when I got into work, our brand new server wasn't working. So I spent the first 5 hours today getting that up and running with RMM, but it wasn't anything we did. It was a Windows update that caused the issue. So other than that, I think that's kind of a good summary of where we're at with the COVID response.
Anybody have any questions for Nick regarding this item?
I guess I'd just like to know how's EMS and the fire, police department doing through this?
Pretty good. They're, obviously, the EMS portion, you know, the ambulance service and the transport service is probably down a little bit. They've been taking some, they've also added maybe some transports that, because of the situation that they've had to do. But I talked to Jake last week. We don't see each other anymore, so we talk through the phone or emails. So I talked to him late last week and about that situation, and he said that their numbers were definitely down with their transports, but that's to be expected right now. They did get, there was part of this first stimulus package had some money in it for EMS. It was a grant that they did get, we received out of the blue. We got an email saying you got money passed on through LifeQuest, so we did get some stimulus money for the EMS. Police department has been, you know, they're close, as close to full staff as they've been in a while, so they're doing pretty good as far as, you know, being able to maintain shifts and that and not have to work overtime. And really, they've been, as you're reading his report, they've been dealing, and you see that around the country, that there's more domestic incidents happening right now with, you know, everybody being home, stuck home. That unfortunately, that's the nature of it. But and you also saw that there was a charge for arson in the village with all the fires that were happening. So those details haven't been released yet as far as who, I don't think. Yep.
Any other questions for Nick? All right. Moving on to number 2, discussion and update on timeline for Lemieux Park.
Yeah, this is it's pretty short discussion too. Last meeting, Mike had asked about, you know, with the situation we're in park playgrounds being closed, so to speak, what we were thinking with Lemieux Park, the $25,000 that was budgeted for that. Talked to Darren. I just said I'd reach out to Darren, and basically right now he's in the design stage. He's been working with the gentleman from BCI, Burke, and he's working from home, the gentleman who he's working with, so it's been kind of slow. So he basically said right now he's just planning on working on design, getting through that phase of it, and kind of coming up with a plan, and at that point we'd bring it to the board anyways. So we're not planning on moving forward with that until we would bring that back to the board. And at that time, you know, it's not costing us anything to go through this design phase.
Okay. I mean, and if they do, I mean, would you put that in the fall? Like,
At this point in the season, probably it wouldn't be. I mean, otherwise they could do it in the middle of the summer too. I mean, it's just all dependent on the timing of everything, so.
okay. All right, cool. Chuck?
Do you think there's any market for the old set?
You know, no, I don't. You know, maybe a few $100s for somebody, I don't know. But by the time you pick, if you remember when we put the one in Optimus Park, that stuff's all usually poured in concrete bases and that. By the time you try and chip that away or probably just end up cutting it out, it probably is useless at that point. And I don't know the plans as far as, you know, we probably haven't gone through the full talk of, do we leave it there for a few years while the new one's there, or take it out right away? I don't know, so.
Didn't know if Wisconsin surplus or something like that, you could put it on there.
Yeah, I would doubt it, but it's pretty old. We would definitely see if there's an interest, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Mike?
Yeah, are we installing that? Or are they gonna? Or
Generally speaking, yes.
BC Burke is gonna install?
Yeah, the one we did in Optimus Park, we had a few staff members and a bunch of Optimus
Yeah.
Club members, and BCI Burke helped out with that one, but generally we install it. Yep.
And there's gonna be more stuff probably for 25 grand if we're doing it ourselves, compared to what there's
We're-
now?
That I don't know.
You don't know, okay.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be relocated closer to the shelter?
Yep.
Yep.
It was
Set it back in the
slated to be
corner?
more where the volleyball court was, that doesn't get utilized or isn't even really functioning at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
So is board okay with that process? We just continue down that process?
Yeah, I was just kind of
Yep.
curious. I had talked to, well, you've seen people out walking now, and someone had asked me, they were familiar with that, we're going to do that this year, and they're just concerned if we put that in, you know, right away, how would you keep the kids off
Right.
that? Because it's going to be cool. I mean, it's going to be
Yep.
new, and it's going to be
Gonna be
closer to
new,
the
yeah.
road, so everybody will see it.
Mhm.
So that was just a concern, you know, someone that worked within the school district, so they just didn't want the kids
Yeah,
being
and
tempted.
that's a good point, and that's something we'll have to keep an eye out, because right now, we all think this May 25th, but the world's not gonna restart on May 25th, and it's certainly probably playground equipment isn't gonna be on, open on May 25th, so we'll definitely, that's a good point, that, to put something up and then have to put a fence around it, it probably isn't a great idea either, so we'll
Okay.
just have to keep an eye on where we think that's gonna.
And could I ask a question about the pool under this item, since it's kind of a parky type of thing? Just kind of curious, are we just going forward with hiring and filling the pool as?
Yeah, I could update that under the president's business staff reports.
Okay, cool.
And then go back to that quickly. Basically, right now, we're planning, we're kind of just, we don't have a choice, but the plan is if the pool's going to open at some point.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of things that need to be in place with hiring and lessons, and at this point, we're just planning on it being open. And at any point, we can always say, it's not going to open.
Okay.
But we have to be prepared if it can open. And even if it's in, August 1st and we can open it for a month, we probably would want to do that, especially with the situation everybody's in right now, so.
Okay, all right. All right. Any other questions on Lemieux Park before we exit this one? No? All right. Moving down to ordinances, discussion and possible action on ordinance 2020-5 and ordinance amending section 14.03 of the village ordinances for the Village of North Fond du Lac Public Health, first reading.
Everybody can obviously read Darren's backup for that. Basically, the explanation being that there is state health emergencies that get passed at some point, and this is probably the one that, we haven't really gone through this in recent years, so there's certainly things out there that aren't following the safer at home orders, that maybe aren't criminal charges, because right now that's the only choice they have, is to file a criminal charge. That would go through circuit court, so this would give us the ability, and you've seen the city of Fond du Lac do something similar, the ability to write local citations for those. He's spelled it out in the ordinance itself, and, there's kind of a tiered citation limits based on the age, and that is pretty typical of these types of things. And I did have a discussion about that with him, specifically about the tiered approach. And on juveniles, the 12 and 13-year-olds, you cannot add any fees to it. And then the teens, he said, the teens versus like the adults, he said there's certainly, in what we're talking about with not obeying safer at home orders, there's certainly probably a little bit more, should be a little bit more teeth behind adults doing something versus teenagers going and playing basketball. That's why the difference is that, the adults should know better and should probably have a little bit higher fine, so. This would be the first reading only.
Did you want me to read the ordinance, or?
Yeah, we probably should. It's page 1. Do you want me to read it, or you want to read it?
I can.
Okay.
Ordinance 2020-5, an ordinance amending section 14.03 of the village ordinances for the Village of North Fond du Lac. The Village Board of Village of North Fond du Lac do ordain as follows. Village Code, section 14.03 provides for public health, section 14.03 thereof is hereby amended to read as follows. Chapter 14, Public Nuisances, 14.03, Public Health. 14.03, Sub 1, Public Health, the village elects to come under the jurisdiction of the Fond du Lac County Board of Health as provided in Wisconsin State Statutes 251.08. 14.03, Sub 2, violation of law relating to health, the village elects to adopt statutes 252.25 as it relates to violation of law relating to health. Penalties for violation shall be as provided in section 14.03, Sub 3. 14.03, Sub 3, penalties of violation of the provisions section of 14.03 of the municipal code relating to violation of law relating to public health shall be as follows. Juveniles 12 to 13 years of age who violate any of the provisions of this section shall upon conviction of such violation forfeit $50 with no cost of prosecution added. Teens 14 to 16 years of age who violate any provisions of this section shall upon conviction of such violation forfeit $100 to $250 together with the cost of prosecution added. Persons 17 years of age and older who violate any provisions of this section shall, upon conviction of such violation, forfeit $170 to $250, together with the cost of prosecution added. Section 2, severability. If any provision of this ordinance is invalid or unconstitutional, or if the application of this ordinance to any person or circumstances is invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect the other provisions or applications of this ordinance, which can be given without the invalid or unconstitutional provision or applications. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be in full force after its passage and publication posting. And like Nick said, this is the first reading, so there is no action required. Are there any questions on this ordinance? All righty. Seeing none, moving down to communications. Anybody have any communications?
I guess I'd just give a follow-up when we started the meeting. I'd like to personally thank Randy too for his 2 years of service. It's very beneficial having you on the board with all your knowledge how the village government works, and especially when it came to EMS and the staffing and transports and billing. So it was a big help for me personally too. So I thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any communications?
I'd like to thank Randy as well. You know, it's a fellow optimist, and we work well together, so enjoyed having you on board.
I'd like to thank you too, Randy. It's been really great getting to know you, and I appreciate you being on the board.
Thank you, Catherine.
Mhm.
And I thanked you before the meeting, but I'll thank you in the public forum too with just, being supportive of staff and the administrator and being a great board member for us. If I may?
Yes.
If I could go back up, we talked, Randy had asked a question earlier, item, would have been the consent agenda about the 502 charge. I just texted Jake, it was a serpentine belt that took out an AC line that needed to be repaired.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, moving down to unfinished business. Any unfinished business? Any new business? Okay, get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion by Stott, second by Price to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. I know it's weird times.